my name is Karen Fitzgerald, the Jewish lay leader at JBLM. We can be found at the Main Post Chapel Annex and on Facebook, JBLM Jewish Community. Links are also available in the First Core chapel pages. And I'd like to start out by just talking about Yom HaAtzmaut 2020. This is the National Day of Israel commemorating the Israeli Declaration of Independence in 1948. Yom HaAtzmaut 2020 will begin in the evening of Tuesday, April 28th, and ends in the evening of Wednesday, April 29th. In honor of Israel's upcoming 72nd anniversary, there will be the first of its kind 5-hour Yom HaAtzmaut celebration online on Wednesday, April 29th, 2020. Please check our website, JBLM Jewish Community, for the post on the details of this celebration. And now I'd like to turn the program over to Caleb Ortega. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Caleb Ortega. I'm a Jewish member here at the community at JBLM, and today I'm going to be discussing the Jewish concept of idolatry. What we're going to be going through is how it has slightly grown and matured through the years, and where we are today in the standard of where we're going as a people, not just the Jewish people, but as humans in general, where we're going. So the idea of idolatry is a big key part, because one of the key understandings is that the world is shrinking. The idea of cell phones has connected us through apps and through technology that we can speak to people from all over the world. And my idea of an individual in Russia in the 1980s came from the movie Rocky. Ivan Drago. That's how I understood all Russians to be. But today, through technology, I can speak with them. We have communication, and now through new apps, I get to actually play board games with them and have a good time and get to know and shrink the world and close it in, and that I can feel that camaraderie with people on the other side of the world. And so because of that, what we see is the world shrinking is that we are so much more interconnected and alike than we have probably ever known as a people. And one of the philosophies that's coming out of this is that the only thing holding us back from becoming a one world, a one people, so to speak, is religion. We need to get rid of religion. If we can get rid of that, because that's the great divisive force, if we can get rid of religion, then we can finally become the people that we're meant to be. And this is a growing theology. This is a growing philosophy from a lot of people. And at least from a Jewish standpoint, we want to stand and say that we absolutely disagree with this idea. But we can still have that hope and that desire that bring us together, that we can have that camaraderie and that friendship, but that doesn't mean anyone needs to give up their religion. And that goes for all religions. When it comes to Judaism and other religions, there's a key verse in Deuteronomy 4. And what it states is that God himself is speaking to the Jewish nation, and what he says is that I have given the other nations their form of worship. And he uses the sun and the moon and the stars as his illustration, but he says, I've given them the sun and the moon to worship, not you. And so the idea is that what's good for the goose is not good for the gander, that we don't need to have one world religion. We don't need to have one idea. That God himself is declaring it is perfectly fine that somebody is not worshiping the same way that you are. That you as Jews are distinct in my way that I've designed, in the same way that a Christian or a Muslim is unique in their own way. And there's no battle, there's no conflict that needs to be had. I gave them what they need, and I've given you what you need. So all you have to do is enjoy each other's company, get to know each other, shrink the world, and find the things that you are connected on and grow with that. There's a story that I'd like to share in this relationship to understanding what idolatry is from a Jewish perspective, that it's a midrash, it's a Jewish story, it comes from the Talmud, and I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, but it's Abraham. He meets a non-Jewish person, and he walks up to him, and the Jewish person is doing a dance around a fire, and he's celebrating, and Abraham says, can I ask you a question? What are you doing? And the man says, I am worshiping fire. Fire is my God. It keeps us warm. It protects us. It gives us light. I love it, and I want to be living fire. Fire is my God. And he says, that's it. Wow, that's a beautiful theology. That's really nice. Can I ask you a question, though? And the man says, of course, ask me anything. Water has the ability to put out fire, so why wouldn't you worship water? The man pauses for a moment. You're right. Water gives life. Water nourishes the soul. Water hydrates us. Water is my God. It is greater than fire, and it's beautiful. And so he creates this new dance, and he starts walking to the river. I'm going to dance to the God of water. And Abraham said, before you go do that, can I ask you a question? Of course, the man says, you're the one who showed me that water's the true God. And Abraham says, the clouds hold water, and they deliver the water. So isn't clouds a little bit grander than water? And the man says, you're right. Water is stored within the clouds. Within my body, I want to hold nourishment. I want to be a provider of nourishing things to my family, to my friends. I want to be like a cloud. I can worship and do a cloud dance to the God of clouds. And Abraham says, oh, that's a beautiful theory. That's a beautiful thought. Can I dare ask you another question? And the man says, I know where you're going with this, but tell me, what's the next God I'm going to serve? And Abraham says, well, the wind guides the clouds. So wouldn't the wind be the one who dictates what gives the water? And the man says, oh, you're right. Where does this end, though? It can't be the wind. What's behind the wind? What's behind the wind? This is the idea of what we call Natsal. This is the truest idea of what we can describe as idolatry. And this man right here who worshiped the fire, who worshiped the water, who worshiped the cloud, then the wind, is in no way, shape, or form in the Jewish mindset an idolater. Why? Because what he sees in the fire, in the water, in the cloud, and in the wind, he sees God-given teachings, loving, being patient with others. I want to be a giver of nourishment. These are godlike qualities. The only thing that he did was that he looked at the fire and failed to see who created the fire right behind it. And the word natsal in Hebrew, what it is it's an idea of a flowing. That God is essentially, he's an ocean of information, of love, of all these positive things. And if a man is to drink of that godly water in a river that flows from this ocean, he's still receiving God's truest water. He is still receiving God's love. He's just getting it from a different way. His intellect has paused him at this specific point instead of this point. And what God is saying is, that's all beautiful. I am teaching all peoples through different things, whether it be their worship of trees. The worship of a tree is not idolatry because what they see in it is life. What they see in it is fruitfulness and giving nature that the trees are. Idolatry is something different. Idolatry is when you don't have the natsal, when you don't have the information and the love that flows into this object. It's when you take the tree. It's when you take the rock and you carve it into a different image. When you make it into essentially what the Bible says is don't make any images like a man or an animal. True idolatry is not just failing to see what's behind the rock. True idolatry is taking the rock, making it into your image, inputting your own thoughts, inputting your philosophies, and creating it to be a god. That's the true essence of what idolatry is. So when I look and I meet, we'll use a Christian person as an example, and I meet them, and I see God's compassion, and I see God's love, everlasting love, and it has been projected on how they understand Jesus to be, I have no problem. Because the true teaching of what that person knows is right there in front of them. So we have this shared camaraderie. Is it different? Absolutely. Is this something that I can't grasp? Absolutely. But this is where the Torah verse is teaching. I didn't give it to you. I gave you my Torah. I gave you my love in my style in this Jewish world that we live in. To the Christian, I gave them this. To the Muslim, I gave them this. As if it's coming in a fruitful manner, then you have no worries. The worries become when, and all religions do this, is when individuals, minority groups rise up as if they speak for the whole group, and they speak from themselves, for themselves, using God's name as a label. That's the truest form of idolatry, self-worship. over everything else. We can work with everybody who's being fruitful in love and compassion. You can't work with somebody who can't hear, can't see past their nose. All they view is what they see comes from them is as godly as it gets. Everybody else is beneath them. Self-worship is the only true idolatry. And so when it comes to other religions, we don't have to worry if we need to convert them or not. We never have believed in it, in the idea of conversion to Judaism. What we've always believed is they do what they do, we do what we do, and we'll figure this all out. We are getting to the point as the world is shrinking where we are figuring it out that we need not do anything other than have love and compassion, among other things, with our Christian brothers, with our Muslim brothers. And as the book of Isaiah says, in the end times, when things are closing up and the world is coming to the full idea of what it's supposed to be, God says, all nations, all peoples, will come and worship and call my house a house of prayer. Not all people will become one people. Not any one group is going to be exposed or shown to be the only truth. It's that God is going to allow all people. And if you have the pleasure and the blessing it is to go to Israel, you'll see it today. If you go to the Kotel, what's known as the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, you are going to see Christians from all different denominations of Christianity. You're going to see Jews from all different, the secular Jew, along with the most ultra-religious Jew. You're going to see Muslims, and they are all worshiping and praising God to the best of their understanding, to the best of our understanding, and as a whole, outside of the small minors that we're not going to speak on essentially today, we live in peace. All of us do. We are bettering the world day by day. So as the world as the world moves forward, there's never going to be that need to lose your faith, to put it on the back burner for the betterment of others. Your faith should stand in front of you, and it should be something that you're proud to represent. Be proud of what you are, but your faith and ideas should never be standing in front of your love and compassion of other people. So, as God declares, is the same thing Jewish people declare, is the same thing I hope for each one of you, is that you understand that God's house, his true house, is for all peoples, as described by the great prophet Isaiah. I hope that this helps. I'm going to pass back to Karen. As always, Shavua Tov, have a good week, and may you be safe.
Thank you, Caleb. And now I'd just like to briefly give a description of this week's Torah readings. And this is actually a double parsha or portion. And the first is from Tizara, which is the Hebrew word for she conceives. And it describes the laws of purity and impurity as they pertain to childbirth, along with it, the laws as it relates to a burn, a bald patch, dull white spots, etc. And then the second parsha, or portion, is Mitzorah, which is Hebrew for one being diseased, and continues the discussion of skin diseases and the treatment of the illnesses, including the concept of contagious. Just think of it, way back when we had the concept of isolation with certain diseases until a cure was found. And so a question may be asked as, how does this treatment of illness belong to religion? It does. How we live, what we eat, what we think, how we act in our everyday life, all of these are included in Jewish religious life. And with that, I refer you to your favorite sources for a more in-depth study of today's Torah portions. And be safe and Shavua Tov. Please have a good week and tune in next week for our next message. Thank you.